Welcome back to the Matter of Facts podcast on the Prepper Broadcasting Network. We talk prepping, guns, and politics every week on iTunes, Stitcher, and Spotify. Go check out our content at mwfpodcast.com on Facebook or Instagram. You can support us via Patreon or by checking out our affiliate partners. I'm your host, Phil Rabalais, and my co-host, Andrew Bobo, is on the other side of the mic, and here's your show. And welcome back to Matter of Facts. I seem to have finally knocked the rust off of this whole podcast producing thing and didn't run around like a chicken with my head cut off getting all this set up. So, Andrew, I don't know if you watched this morning's Raising Values. I was on the struggle bus.
No, I was excuse me. No, I was at church.
I don't begrudge you that. Everybody's souls need saving, especially ours.
Yeah, no, it's it's the last couple weeks have been busy traveling and all kinds of crap, and you've been struggling to get, or not struggling, but you've been busting your butt to get the prepper camp episodes up and everything. So I don't blame you.
Yeah, which I guess now is a good time to go ahead and hit the administrative stuff, because I've been told by you and by my wife that we got to do the admin stuff up front. So all the prepper camp episodes, and if memory serves me, there are 11 of them that we recorded out there in the vendors area. They are all on YouTube. I'm going to get them to Rumble eventually, but there is no quick, simple way to get them from YouTube to Rumble. And I'm just going to have to go through and, kind of port them over when I get time. But they're all on YouTube for the time being. They're all in a nice little playlist that says Prepper Camp 2023. They were okay. I mean, the interviews were great. The production could have been a little bit better, and I will, now that I've seen the way it worked out, next year will be even better. I actually heard back from Rick this morning, and I don't know if you checked your emails, but he said he would love to have us back in the vendors area representing Matter of Facts and Raising Values next year. So, if you're in, I'm in, and Gillian's in, and that's looking like maybe next year we'll be back out of prepper camp in the vendors area doing this all over again. Except this time I'll have my better, smarter half with me, and she'll help us chase, herd the cats.
Yeah, no, no, I have not seen his email. I've been kind of woke up, went to church, got home. Actually, I picked up some groceries, got home, and made a quick lunch before we sat down, because I was like, I'll go mow the lawn, because we got leaves falling, and I need to mulch up leaves that have already fallen. And yeah, but it's hot out. It's like 80 outside, and I don't want to do anything. So I'm gonna probably stick around in the house, and I'm still recovering my mess from traveling for a couple weeks between that night vision class I took and traveling to prepper camp. Yeah, well, yours is at least in one location. Mine is now.
No, it's not.
It's still yeah.
There's stuff in here. There's one box in the kitchen that needs to get gone through. There's some more stuff in the garage that I never even put away. Because we came back from prepper camp last weekend, and I already had a reservation for another camping trip for this coming weekend. So 1 week from today for those that are watching this live. So there was no point really unpacking everything. There was no point putting stuff away. So I just very quickly, everything that needed to be washed went in the washing machine. Everything that needed to get cleaned up got cleaned up. I, flipped the tent inside out to get all the sand and everything out of it.
I need to set my tent up.
Yeah, I did all of that the day after we got back. And then some of this other stuff has just kind of been hanging around. That's why I have this camp box's lid open, because there's stuff that needs to go into there out of the box below it. I mean, I've got, it's normal pre-camp, post-camp stuff that needs to get done. And I came home, had one day off to get done what had to get done, and then went straight back to work. And now it's the weekend again. But, I'm not hardly upset about it, because I love going out camping. I love taking the family. I wish they could have come to prepper camp with me, and that's why we're going out again next weekend.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's it's crazy. I mean, I took a bin that I had emptied, and I just threw a bunch of stuff in it, and I need to go through it and organize it. But yeah, it's yeah, just trying to get motivation to I got to work on, there's some stuff I need to do around the house, and The addition I have that eventually I'd like to make my living room. It's all wood paneling, the gross like old school wood paneling. I want to pull all that crap out. And plus, I need to find the leak in my window. So that's another thing I was probably going to do today was start that process. I got to start pulling the trim off around the window and remove a couple panels just so I can try to see, because when it rains really hard or windy and raining, my window looks like a faucet.
Mm.
So it's getting pushed in from somewhere. I got to figure out where and caulk the crap out of it. So, but
Yeah.
no, but yeah, no, everything's. I mean, as far as administrative stuff goes, I mean, yeah, you're getting all that stuff uploaded, which is great, and we learned a lot from camp from this year, because this is the first year that we've always done the fireside chats. We've always done the fireside chats, and this year with going in and doing the chats around the booth and stuff, I think we definitely learned a lot. Maybe try to figure out some ways that we can do some sound dampening. I don't think we're gonna get that good, but if we can put up maybe another panel or something, like a wall on the side of whoever's next to us, if they're busy, maybe we can put up a little bit of a panel or something, or a tarp or whatever, just to catch some of that sound. But I don't know. I mean, going off of, I know you do a lot of sound editing and stuff like that in the post production. But the audio, some of the ones I listen to, the audio doesn't sound bad. I mean, you're gonna get that background noise. It's not, you're never gonna not get it. So, but with how low it was, I was surprised. I was really happy with the way the mics performed, and how they did not catch a lot of background noise. Like I remember when we first started recording, and
We
we
thought the
both
wind was
used
going to kill
Yetis.
us.
Well, the wind, but like we were using those Yetis, and we had a Yeti sitting like right in the center of the table. Our first fireside chat, I think it was two.
Hmm.
And I mean, it was like, I mean, those Yetis those are good mics, and for the price of them and everything, and they picked up way more.
Everything.
Yeah, and I mean that's the thing, and that's why we that's why when we could upgrade, we did, because of the fact that I mean, I remember when I was living with my old roommate and stuff. I mean, they'd be watching TV upstairs, and my Yeti would still pick it up, and it made it sound like they were like sitting right next to me. So, but I mean, we learned a lot, and that's the thing is, I mean, we're gonna go next year, and we're gonna learn more and everything, and how to make the show better. So,
Yeah, I really don't think the background noise was objectionable. Like listening back through it, even when I had to go in and do the post production for the audio podcast, it didn't sound bad. If I have one gripe, and it is purely on me, like it was in my blind spot and I didn't think about it. I got a little overloaded with everything else going on. But when I was focusing on getting things set up, I was really focused on the P4, because if your gains on that are screwed up, there's nothing you can do to fix it downstream. And I had everything pretty well lined up gain wise, except there's an internal setting to Windows on the microphone gain in Windows itself. That normally is not something I have to continue to tweak, because once I get it set up, like once I get good gain on the P4 on the input side and I get that set, it's kind of a set and forget it kind of thing. If I have to tweak anything, I usually tweak the internal setting in here to StreamYard. People weren't using StreamYard. So what killed me was when I gained these mics for the situation we were in, I had the internal gain of Windows was turned up just a touch too high. So that's why if you go back and if you listen to the audio, it sounds really, really good. If you go back and watch those YouTube videos, though, you can hear the two of us ever so slightly distorted sometimes. It's listenable. It's not like it was ruined. There was one time when I swear your and my levels on the P4 must have got bumped, because like you and me are way down. Jeff was at about the right level. It's just, it's one of those things where it's like, what I need to do when we go into next year is I need a checklist where, like, 5 minutes before we record, I check this, and this, and make sure everything is where it's supposed to be every single time, and I can't leave that to chance, because you know how it is when you're recording out there. You get one bite at the apple. There are no reshoots. If it's boogered up, it's boogered up, and that was my own personal blind side, in that, like, shooting the video interviews was kind of an almost an afterthought. Like we thought of it ahead of prepper camp, but it was not something we had really. I feel like I could have been better prepared, but I think it came out very good. I mean, I have provided all the upload links and everything to Rick. I hope it's good. I hope it's good advertisement, good promotion for prepper camp. I really want to see this event continue to grow. But, hindsight being what it is, I look back on the production value and I'm like, I see what went surprisingly well and I see what could have been done better.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
don't think the background noise was the biggest problem. I think it was
No.
really just a matter of like, if I had to turn down the gain internal to Windows just 10-15%, I think it would have been infinitely better.
Yeah. I mean, but I mean, you live and learn. I mean, we're
Yep.
not pros at this, and I mean, if we did this for a living, then yeah, I could understand like, hey, you need to do something better. But no, live and learn, and we learned our lesson. And going to next year, we just know what to do more and make it better. So again, shout out to everybody who stopped by and said hello. Thank you. Appreciate all y'all's words and that you guys listen to the show, and hope to see more of you next year. So, for any Hoosers,
Real
oh,
quick before we get to the topic, I'm
oh,
getting a sidebar from our from Chris, who is one of the principals from the Southern Gals, our new merch source.
mhm.
He said we can push a 10% off code for October, MOF10. So if anyone's interested in the new Matter of Facts merch line, we finally nuked Teespring. We got away from supporting big corporations because I hate that stuff. We got in bed with a small mom and pop shop that I don't say that to be pejorative, but like they're small business, they're small home business, and I love that.
Mhm.
They are doing all of our merch from here on out, and the link is down in the show description, the Southern Gals. So
If you also, oh, go ahead. Sorry.
if you use promo code MOF10, he's telling me like literally as I'm talking to y'all that code should be good for the month of October, and there is a separate one that's for patrons only that I will let all the patrons know about. So if you'd like to look at what we have to offer, it's I think for the time being it's going to be the conglomerated merch store for MOF and for Raising Values. I just need to get Chris to like double because I know that Gillian has pushed a couple of ideas for Raising Values across to Chris and Tiffany, and those will start populating the store in the near future, hopefully.
Yeah, and and if you don't know, I mean, if you are driving or whatever, just go to mofpodcast.com, click on the merch link, and that will take you directly to the store as well. So, but yeah, MOF10, and yeah, get some new shirts, and they look really good. I like them. So especially the mugs and everything that she has. So she does a good job.
Yes,
But
she
but yeah,
does.
but yeah. So kind of going off of what we were talking about with camping, and you're going camping again soon, going off prepper camp, the MOF trip. We kind of were discussing. I mean, the whole when we were talking about a topic, and I don't want to get too preachy, but like sitting in church, listening to the pastor talk about or the next generation, and how adults can mentor the next generation and help them get through issues, and how we can't give up on the next generation because the big thing is you look at the next generation and you're like, hey, this is your guys' issue. You guys are causing some of this crap, so you need to fix it. Well, no, I think the way that he explained it was, no, we need to take them under our wing and we need to kind of try to mentor them and make and figure out what we can do better. So and as a generation before, and that kind of got me thinking about what we can do as humans because as humans, I mean, we get overloaded. We get
Yes.
we get burned out, we get depressed, we go through issues. Everybody has issues, and you go through that lack of motivation. And so I really think, and that's kind of, and then after church, I texted you the idea, and I was like, hey, what do you think? Because you've gone through this kind of stuff. Everybody goes through this. I went through it. It kind of hit me hard at the beginning of summer, and it's just that we're busy as people, as humans. We get busy. We get bogged down with stuff. Life is busy, and in return, so are we. So basically, I mean, what happened to me in the beginning of summer was I mean, nonstop. I was working nonstop, picking up a bunch of overtime. Basically, my life consisted of work, go home, eat, sleep, wake up, work, like repeat. I mean, it was nonstop, and I was picking up a lot of overtime, which the checks were great, but it started taking a toll on me as far as like just the mental health, and then just the idea of uh, what how I was handling it. And I'm the type of person where I kind of just I don't really like talking about stuff. And so it just got to that point where I was like, holy crap, like it started getting really bad. I started losing my motivation completely went away. I started getting to the point where like I had a hard time. I didn't even want to like sit down and record with you. And just because it was like, why I don't even want to do it. And yeah, I was feeling burnout. And it was actually to the point where I almost didn't even go to the MOF trip. And so I was sitting there and talked to a couple of the guys I work with who are really like I talked to them about a lot of stuff, bounce a lot of ideas off of them, how life is. I mean, dating. They're married and have kids, but you know, talking about dating because I'm trying to get back into that whole game. And yeah, just hey, I'm not going to go on this trip. And then basically they were like, no, you need to go. And talk to you, Phil, and you were like, yeah, you should probably go. And honestly, like again, without trying to get too preachy about it, I mean, I prayed on it, and I felt that urge to, hey, you need to disconnect, you need to go. And it was one of those things like, all right, cool, I guess I'll go. Don't really want to, but hey, it'll be good to I just bought the truck, so it'll be good to kind of break the new truck in. And yeah, so basically I went and I turned my phone off, and basically that whole week with you guys, it was a reset. I immediately felt better as soon as I got there. As soon as because I visited one of my good friends in Jonesboro first, but like as soon as I saw her and her family, and then like I saw you guys after the next day, I immediately felt better. I felt like just, hey, nothing's bothering me. I'm looking at this gorgeous lake. We're camping, we're having fun, and it was just do nothing for a few days, and it felt good. And I returned to work. I returned to work with, hey, I want to start focusing on some other things. I want to start focusing on uh, more of my health. I want to start focusing on the show again. I started having ideas. Like I'd be sitting there at work, or I'd be sitting doing whatever, and all of a sudden I'd get ideas of like, hey, I want to like maybe work on this. Have this idea as far as my truck, because like again I want to mod my truck out a little bit, and I just lost all motivation for that. Well, after the trip, I was like, hey, I want to do this, this, and this. Started making lists, preps, and then we can talk about how this can kind of lead into prepping and help in self sustainment. But yeah, it was almost like I got a breath of fresh air. And I'm not saying like I was getting to that point again, but then prepper camp happened, and it was like, okay, cool, I'm excited. Like I had no doubts I wanted to go, but the same thing. I got there, and it was just like, hey, let's just have fun. And to me, that's just to me that disconnecting is one of the biggest things that I think as humans we need to do. Um, we need to let go of the crazy world, the crazy life that some of us lead. Or I say crazy, but I'm sugarcoating it really just what some other people lead. But you need to let go. You need to sit down. You need to, even if it's petting your dog on the head for a half hour a day with no phone, no TV, no internet, just you and the pooch sitting on the porch watching listening to the birds in the trees, or watching traffic go by. I don't care what it is. Just you got to disconnect and kind of got to get your mind right. And I don't know, that was all through my head through the whole service today. And so I kind of wanted to pitch it at you and see what your thoughts were, and just kind of discuss it, because I know I'm not the only one. I know it's a big issue across the board with a lot of people, and it's one of those things where what can we do to better help others if when we're trying to do the show. So
Yeah, well, for the audio listeners, I've been throwing up some of Eddie's comments. He's our resident mental health professional. But let's see here. He said you were giving a lot with little to no self care, which sounds pretty on brand. He did say religion is a big motivating factor for people, gives them purpose. I would also say that like Religion is not the only place to find purpose, but everybody
Mhm.
needs purpose. Everybody needs something to drive them forward, because if not, we turn into the worst versions of ourselves. Mental health is your most important prep, and this is something that, like, well, Eddie, you weren't invited because we came up with this like literally an hour ago.
Yeah,
Like,
it was
this is,
pretty short. So
yeah. But I mean, that's also what we do sometimes, is that we talk about what's on our mind, what's on our hearts. And when
well,
Andrew said, "Hey, I'm feeling this," I'm like, "Well, then that's what we're going to talk about, because that's what's going to have impact." But I do want to highlight something that Eddie said while you were talking. Mental health is your most important prep. You can have all the supplies in the world, but if you don't have the will to survive, what's the point? And I
mhm.
want to like really beat that into people, not be preachy about it, but like, we've talked about mindset, we've talked about the will to survive, we've talked about all these things before, but like, understand that like, what kills 90% of people in an emergency situation has nothing to do with what you would put on their death certificate as the cause of death. What
COVID.
kills 90% of people is they quit.
Oh,
They get tired, they get cold, they get hot, they get hungry, they get thirsty. They start to feel like crap, and they lose the will to continue to push and fight to survive. And they lay down and they die. And I don't say that to be callous or to be uncaring, because it's not where I'm coming from. But it really is an issue of like, if you quit, all the preps, all the gear, all the skills, all that stuff goes out the window. If you quit trying, quit fighting, you're not going to make it. And as long as you are willing to fight no matter what, like, the saying I love is, you're fighting like the third monkey on the ramp of Noah's Ark. As long as you're willing to fight that hard to live 5 more minutes, 5 more hours, 5 more days, you have a better than average chance of pulling through. And if you're not willing to fight that hard, your chances go down to zero very, very quickly. I mean, we see this over and over and over in survival situations where the person who quit, they didn't make it. And to your point about, like, even before we get to the emergency situation, like, the world is a really rough frickin' place, man. Like, it is, my viewpoint on the world is very conflicting, or very conflicted, because on the one hand, like, I've been very plain about the fact that we live in a time of relative plenty and safety. We don't have the same kinds of immediate threats in front of us that our forefathers did. You know what I'm saying? Like, thousands of years ago, human beings had to fight every minute of every day just to have a meal, just to have clean water, just to have safety. And like, we're at a point now where if you got a little bit of cash in your pocket, you can go to the store and you can go get food. You
but
can get clean water out of your tap.
right.
But on the flip side of things, we are also constantly bombarded by social media, and by, like, even from the prepper standpoint, we're constantly bombarded by the next threat, the next thing that's going to blow up, the impending collapse of the economy, the Russia nuking us. I mean, it's always something. And I feel like that constant bombardment, it gets into our heads, and it really does like beat us down, where you get so overwhelmed and you get so worn down by worry about things that it can eat you. And yeah,
Mhm.
you're right. You absolutely have, every now and then you have to grab that cable and pull it out of the jack. Just disconnect from
Mhm.
social media, disconnect from Facebook, Snapchat, all that nonsense, and you need to plug back into people that build you back up and enrich you. Like, for me,
Mhm.
that's my family. But it could be your parents, it could be your cousins, it could be your friends, it could be your hobby, it could be anything. But you can't grind 100% of the time indefinitely. It will affect anybody. So I mean, it's sobering to hear you say all that. I'm glad you
Yeah,
came to that realization.
but I mean, what's interesting is kind of like what you said, is we live in basically one of the safest times in our history as humans. But the thing is, though, is I mean, we live in the United States, where I mean, yeah, there's some pretty screwed up things going on right now in our country, but I still consider the United States, to me, it's the greatest country in the world. And but if we're sitting here and we're having a hard time because yeah, we have running water and I can go down the road and get any kind of food I want really at any time almost, but then like I mean, there are people around the world that are fighting to survive. They're fighting every day for their next meal. They're fighting every day for clean water. I mean, human slavery is still a rampant disease on our world, and even worse than it was, back with, back when during slavery times that we read about in the history books. But then you think about it, you're like, wow, and I'm complaining about what's going on with me. But at the same time, I mean, we all have that breaking point. We all have that wall that we hit, and it's you just got to kind of look at you. Really, the one thing that when I break away and I can when like at the camp at the MOF trip and then at prepper camp, and I definitely need to start planning more trips, just even if it's by myself or whatever, just more trips. It just gives you something to look forward to, and like yeah, exactly, hit the reset button. I mean, every time you get away from your normal day-to-day grind, your routine, you get out of your routine, it's almost like a reset button. And yeah, I need to really, that's why my goal is to really, yeah, I can go, I have the equipment, I have a tent, I have the stuff, and I'm trying to make it easier on myself to just to hey, leave work and go. And I mean, that's if that's what you need to do, just make more time. I mean, I've said it every single year that I since I started this new job, now 5 years, no, 6 years now. It's like I'm not picking up as much overtime next year, and I say that every freaking year,
And
and it
yet,
fails every single year. I pick up more and more overtime, and it's one of those things where I need to hold myself accountable. I need to hit that reset button more than just once or twice a year. So that's my goal going into next year. That's my goal is to just really break away more often, and whether it's sitting my phone down and turning it off and going for a walk around the block or whatever it is, it just needs to happen.
I mean, Eddie, I think Eddie's right on the money. If your self
Yeah.
care is camping, then you schedule into your life. Let me offer from the perspective of like the economics guy budgeting. All of budgeting is money comes out. This is how it gets spent and allocated, right?
Hmm.
So what about this? I know part of the reason you work a lot of OT, like part of it on let's be honest, is you're trying to help out your employer. You're trying to cover shifts, you're trying to do all that.
Right.
Some of it's that you're trying to pay down some debt, yada yada yada. All that's necessary. But let's consider for a moment that you need, say, X number of days on vacation or you need X number of days camping in order to like emotionally offset that the time you spent working OT. So in as a measure towards your accountability, why not sit down and plan out like
Hmm.
if I'm going to work 50 hours of overtime, I owe myself 1 day camping in the woods.
Hmm.
So I don't know like what the length of your shifts is or how many days that is or even if that's reasonable or rational, but you kind of build it almost like a budget of if I've worked this many days of overtime, I am not working another overtime hour until I take a day camping. And you treat it like a budget. That way you kind of have
Hmm.
your own built-in accountability to say, I've worked, I've done what I'm supposed to, I've paid the bills, I've been a responsible member of society, but I owe this to my own and personal emotional mental health to unplug for a day and go do whatever. And that, like, what does that for me is because I'm a workaholic, and I acknowledge I'm a workaholic. I've been this way probably for 20 years. Like, this is not a new thing with me. My wife is the one that says, "Hey, you've been a cranky bastard lately. You need a day off. You need to go to the gun range. You need to go hang out with your friends. You need to go hang out with your dad. You need to plan a camping trip." She's the one that does that for me. She's my self-correction. You might have to build something into this so that you have your own form of self-accountability so that you don't just work OT until you know,
Hmm.
slam face first into the wall. And Eddie's also saying, yes, Facebook is weird on our streams. I don't even know why anymore. I've given up asking. Find smaller forms of self care because that was one of my little banners. But maybe we talk about like different forms of hitting the reset button because camping is usually a pretty reasonably priced vacation. You know what I'm saying? Couple nights in a state park, a cooler full of meat, a bag of charcoal. I mean, once you have all the gear, you've spent the money. So a weekend camping is not financially crippling, if we're being honest. But if you start talking about like a beach vacation that's going to involve like, several $100s a night in a hotel, or in the case of prepper camp, our living expenses out there were pretty minimal. I mean, basically just food, but it was still, what, 750, 800 miles for y'all to drive one way. And then you're talking about the gas associated with that at probably 20 miles per gallon in a pickup truck.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, well, yeah, I mean, that's the thing is, and that kind of goes into the whole preparedness thing because when I was texting this to you, I was like, okay, well, how can you tie this into preparedness? And just the idea, like what Eddie was saying, self care, uh, mental health is a preparedness item that everybody should have on their list to work on, uh, no matter what. But going back to the whole hobbies thing and stuff like that, like if if you can break away and you can clear your mind and then you can start thinking more clearly and you can start then making those lists of like, okay, like what do I need to work on? Like I have these projects around the house, but then okay, my goal, and start setting goals. And because that's what I did was start setting goals. And hey, let's my goal is to, in the next couple months, I'm going to have 2 or 3 buckets of food set aside. Now I'm going to start buying a couple things here and there at the store, and I'm going to start putting together some food grade buckets. I'm going to increase my food preps to this much, or I'm going to work on this. Like start that, that kind of things. If you can clear your mind of all the junk and you can start thinking more clearly, it lets you sit there and be like, okay, I need more ammo. I need more water. I need whatever. And then you can start working on stuff that will help you once you get past the mental hurdle to sustain yourself for a long period of time during an event of some kind. Because that's the thing is if something happens, and this goes back to say a hurricane, a snowstorm, tornado, what have it goes back to now. So hurricane happens, that, because that's the thing is like, let's go into Hurricane Ida with you. Okay, so you guys made it through the hurricane. You see that you have trees on the house, and okay, the first step is to take in the situation, and then this next step is to kind of wrap your mind around it mentally, wrap your mind around it. Okay, these are the steps I got to do. Now you can look back, and because you actually had your list and you had everything situated, you had food and water, you had shelter, you had stuff situated to where you didn't have to worry about the food and water and stuff like that because you had it. So once you cleared up the mental game, you were like, okay, let's get to work. Let's start cutting up the trees. And sometimes that's what you just gotta do. And I mean, looking at snowstorm. I mean, here in Michigan, you're sitting there and it's like, okay, snowstorm's running through, or they're predicting a snowstorm in like the next day or so. And I mean, I've said this on the show multiple times. It's like, okay, the mental hurdle that you got to get over is, okay, I still got to go to work, so I got to deal with other drivers, and I have to make sure I leave in enough time. Like my drive is currently 30 minutes. If it's driving like crazy, okay, I'm going to leave an hour and a half early because I might get there in 45 minutes and I'll be super early, but I don't care. I'm there. And it gives you time to go. Okay, so the mental hurdle, and then now I look at the food. I'm like, well, I got food and I got water and I got preps. I got my stuff. I have a ton of blankets. If power goes out, I have lanterns. I got a gas stove, and I have plenty of gas to get me through multiple meals, if not many weeks, if not longer, to cook. All right, well, what do I need? Shoot, I'm out of whiskey.
Damn.
Like, okay, I'm going to go to the store. And as I'm walking through the store getting whiskey and Coke, people around my old roommate and I, people were running around us getting bread, milk. They were getting food, and it's just like, well, we don't have to do that. So it's like, what are your so, and that's why I'm trying to push, like, clear up that mental cloud, get that mental cloud out of your head and get focused, because once you get focused, really, I mean, you can really accomplish really anything. And once you can focus, you can clear the cloud out, and then you can focus on what really matters. So
Yeah, but like you said, clearing out that mental cloud is the hard part sometimes.
mhm.
And like I said, like hobbies, I think is an important thing. Everyone's heard the goofy old saying, everybody needs a hobby. And I'm going to tell you, everybody needs a freaking hobby. I don't care what it is. If it's podcasting, reloading ammo, shooting, pool, camping, I don't care. Find something that you enjoy doing, preferably something that is not more work than it is fun. Break the routine. I have days, like, I'm off every other Friday. It's because I work an alternate work schedule. And usually on that Friday off, I like bust my butt in the morning, get laundry done, dishes done, mow the lawn if it needs to be mowed, wash the truck. I get as much of my weekend stuff done as possible on that Friday off when my wife and daughter aren't here. And then I can spend the weekend hanging out with them, and it's great. And this Friday, I'm going to be out camping, which is even better. But every now and then, I am kind of at a low point in my motivation, and I just want to friggin' like sit on the back porch and light a cigar. I want to sit down and like catch up on some goofy Netflix stuff and just kind of veg out, because like I don't do a lot of vegging out. It's not my personality. I am very much like I want to constantly be learning stuff, and I have this personality where the more I sit around and do nothing, the worse of a person I am. I need the constant. But every now and then, needing that constant push of work on this, work on this, work on this grinds me down. And I need to just be a lazy bastard for an afternoon. So, like, whatever your normal routine is, you do need to break it every once in a while. And, like, friends and family, do not let yourselves get isolated, everybody. Don't do it. The I don't have this problem because I live with two other people. But, like, Andrew, for you being in the situation you're in where you live by yourself, like, it is extraordinarily important that you don't allow yourself to become too socially and therefore emotionally isolated. You know what I'm saying? You need your family and your friends around you. You need that in your life. I mean, I guess the closest analog I have is that being a remote worker for the time being, it's very easy for me to get isolated because for 9 hours a day I'm sitting here by myself. It's just me and the cat. And I noticed over the years of remote working that some of my coworkers had a much harder time with remote working than I did. They'd call me up for just random stuff and we wind up just talking for half an hour because they needed to break the social isolation of sitting in their houses by themselves. And I found that this was much more prevalent with people who didn't have like, somebody else in the house. Like if they live by themselves, then that time spent at work a lot of times, and when we were all in the physical office, was comforting to them because they at least had their coworkers around them. And when they were home at night, it was kind of like living by themselves wasn't a problem, but being by themselves 24 hours a day, 7 days a week was. So, like, I would say you need to find a group of people that you can just spend time with. I mean, human beings we're social creatures by design. We're not supposed to be by ourselves.
Right. And I mean, back, before at the start of summer when basically it was like, okay, not really feeling much of anything right now and all that crap. Like the way I explained having a house was, having my own place is a blessing and a curse. It's a blessing because I've always wanted my own space. I've never had my own space, and now I have it. So I can come home. I can listen to music, which I've done at 2 o'clock in the morning. I've been blaring music. I've been cooking. I'll get home and I'll cook a steak. I'll do whatever, sit up till 4 in the morning, 5 in the morning, watch TV, and not worry about noise level and stuff like that, really. But at the same time, it's a curse because going from having roommates basically my entire college career, and I mean growing up living with my parents and all that stuff, the house is empty. You come home and there's nobody here but you. I don't have pets just because I don't have time for pets, which hopefully that'll change in the future. But yeah, it's you come home and it's empty. And so, like I said, it's a blessing and a curse. And now I look back at it after that whole recharge, that disconnect, and that recharge that I've had, that hitting that reset button, and I can see I can see the light to where it's like, you know what? Yeah, I live by myself, but man, I'm in a great spot. Like I look at it, and and that's where clearing my head got me. Whereas I'm trying to explain, I guess, where.
Andrew, did you freeze?
Right there.
Oh yeah, I am. You froze, or I
Oh,
froze. I'm not sure who.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know. The signal on my internet says it completed, like went complete crap. Um, but yeah. So I mean, just disconnecting and resetting. I mean, it can help you. It can help you with a lot. It can help you not just get your priorities straight and figure out a hobby or whatever. It can really help you see like the joy in life again, and it can really it can really let you see, hey, I'm fortunate. Like I have a house. I got my house. When I know people who are looking for houses right now in today's market where interest rates are 8% and they're talking about going higher. Like I'm thankful for that I got in when I did. I mean, I'm thankful that I got a house. Like it gives you the ability to look back and sit back and and see what's thankful that what you can be thankful for your life, or for what's in your life rather. So you know, it's yeah. I mean, Brian, that's not yeah. That's the thing is through the church that I'm going through. There's a whole like Tuesday night. There's like a singles thing that I've been trying to go to, and I'm actually going to reach out to them and see if they're doing it this Tuesday because I'm off. And you know, there's yeah. So going to a bar and stuff, it's and just to talk to people. I mean, that's the thing is it's funny who you meet and who you talk to. Because like the other night, I went to the bar completely not. I just went on a whim. I was like, you know what, I could go for a good, you know, Sam Adams. This bar has it. I'm gonna sit down and just have a couple beers. I ended up talking to this dude for an hour and a half. Like he's traveling from Georgia. He actually owns, you know, he got out of the business he does. Now he grows, I get like metal. He well not medical, but he grows the marijuana in Michigan. And we had an hour and a half talk about the crap that his daughter's been through, his wife has been through, what he's been going through, the business that he's trying to build, and like then it circled back to how thankful he was for his wife and how she does certain things like to that when he gets home from work she's like here's like how do you put it, he goes I got home from work and he goes my wife goes hey there's lasagna sitting on the oven for you, and he just like he goes that took me back, he goes because lasagna is not an easy thing to freaking make, he goes it takes
Uh-uh.
time, and he goes so she made that for me, like she made that, she spent all that time doing that for me, and he goes that really opened my eyes up, to really shows me how much she appreciates me because she took the time to do that. And he says and he's like the little things like that, it might be funny to some people when they hear it, but to the little things like that when you've been having a rough day, like that can easily brighten your mood, and that could be that could be what it takes for you to disconnect. I mean a small something like that to help you realize, hey, I'm back to my happy place kind of thing. And that's kind of where we need to find ourselves is we need if well, like what you said, whether it's the range, reloading, pick a hobby, find a new hobby, discover something else. I mean, whatever it is to help your brain, to help you kind of relax and get the fog out of your head. Like that's what needs to happen.
Yeah. And I wanted to pose this question to you to kind of round this out, but like most people have heard the term staycation. It's a vacation where you don't
Hmm.
go anywhere. And I know some people kind of turn their nose up at that, but like my experience has been that there are times, and frankly, there are people whose living situations just they don't have the ability, they don't have the expendable funds to go on a vacation, or there's some kind of a situation where like they cannot be that far from home. Maybe they have sick family members or there's something going on, and there's those moments in time where like you need an unplug, especially if like you had like I know during COVID, you know, a lot of people were in the situation where they had travel plans that got unceremoniously canceled because of the
Hmm.
pandemic. And like I know for a lot of people, some people didn't have a choice. They had to go into work because they worked in the medical field or something that basically their leave got canceled. But I feel like for a lot of us, you know, it would have been very beneficial to just take that time off, have a staycation, sleep in, sit around your pajamas, go, you know, go find a local park, go find a local walking trail, just do something. Like my wife and I and my daughter do this occasionally where we'll have, let's say we'll be ahead of the game on chores and everything on a Saturday morning. We're sitting around the house and we're like, we kind of want to get out. What is there to do here in the town we live in that we might normally overlook because we live here? And at this point, I think we have seen every local hiking trail, every local, like, little wilderness area. We've seen every self-guided interpretive trail. We've, spent hours out at the lakefront just puffing on a cigar and, listening to the lake. We've tried to explore our local area as if we were tourists. We've looked for those cute little places to go get a dessert. We've looked for those things because, first of all, it really does help you just rediscover the joy for where you live. Because let's call it what it is. When you live there, it's kind of hard to get excited about it because you've lived here for so long.
Mm.
But I find that there's utility in looking at where you live as if you were a tourist, and then you don't have hotel costs, you don't have travel expenses. So you can spend a relatively small amount of money and have a vacation right there in your hometown or within driving distance of your hometown. It's another option for the person who's just doesn't have the finances to go on a big old summer blowout. And call it what it is. In the economy we live in right now, I don't think vacations are going to be a big thing for a lot of people for a while. And at the same time, I feel like they're probably more important than ever because it's taking so much longer with gas prices going up and with, school prices going up and with grocery costs going up and utilities. The pinch is hitting the entire U.S. population to the point where the amount of time it takes you to save enough expendable income to afford that vacation is getting longer every day. And the stress involved in working yourself to the bone and scrimping and saving, trying to save for that vacation, is making the need for the vacation even more pressing, even worse. So I think what we are going to have to do to hit that reset button every now and then is we have to embrace the staycation. We have to embrace the Budweiser on Budweiser budget. Maybe we can't afford the big blowout to Disney World. Maybe we can't afford the big tour through the Midwest that my wife and I still want to go on one day, where we just like hit the road and we're gone for 2 weeks and we just go.
Mhm.
But what we might have to do is we might have to find those little almost like bite-sized, those little bite-sized portions of mental health and comfort so that we can come back to our careers and our families and everything else and recommit to it. Because if we don't, like, to reinforce what Eddie said, if we don't take care of our mental health, we're not going to be much good for anything else. That's just the way it is.
Mhm.
And, Andrew Harris is saying that they camped for like 3, 4, 5 weeks during the shutdown. And I'm going to be honest with you, if I hadn't been immediately pivoted to being a remote worker, yeah, I'd have took a week or two off and just said screw it.
Mhm.
Like, I don't know. I think the people that I'm heartbroken for that are the ones that, like, in a situation like that, they just they can't afford the time off work. But most of us can, and we just don't because we get in our heads that, like, no, it's more important that I do this and this and this. And while I agree paying off debt and saving money is important, if you drive yourself literally crazy in the process, how useful was it?
Well, that and just before we wrap it up here, we at the end of the day, nobody cares how much money is in your bank account. No one really cares about that kind of crap. And at the end of the day, if I die tomorrow, the money that I've saved because I worked all this overtime and stuff like that, it means nothing. And so that's the thing is, uh, you want to like, what was a quote today from the pastor? He basically so was saying how um, there was a quote that he said, sorry, that was it basically said, live a good life, live a good life so that when you're older, you can look back and relive it again. And that's the thing is go on those trips. If you want to stay in the house and kick your feet up, drink a beer, like just relax. Who cares? Just if you want to take a staycation, great. But if you can get out and go research attractions like what you're saying, research the attractions around your local area, say within an hour drive, what's in the vicinity. I mean, where can I drive to? Okay, start there. Okay, now 2 hours out. Okay, start there. Now 3 hours out. Start there, and start hitting these and explore your state if that's all you got. You don't have to go across state lines to have fun. And so that I guess that's where I want to leave it, is just go out, have fun, hit that reset button, and just live that life, like, so that you can look back, when you look back next year and a year from now, and if you look back and says, man, I had a great 2023, like, you want to sit there and be like, cool, I did this and this. You don't want to sit back and, as much as I work, I mean, I regret almost every single year, because I look back at the end of the year and I'm like, I really didn't do jack crap. Like, I wanted to, but I just never did. And that's where it's like, okay, and I guess that's where you just need to have that inner talk with yourself, to where if you're sitting in bed and it's a day off and you're like, man, I don't feel like doing nothing. Okay, well, I really didn't. Yesterday was my day off. If you have 2 days off in a row, okay, well, yesterday I just lounged around. Now I got to get up, and just tell yourself, get up. I mean, get up, go do something out of the normal. To get out of that routine.
Yeah. Well, there's two alternates to the same saying that I love to repeat in a moment like this. There's two things hearses don't have: luggage racks and trailer hitches. You don't get to take any of it with you.
Hmm.
I mean, like I am the finance economics guy. I am the preachiest mother effer on earth about, don't leave your kids a wad of debt, plan for tomorrow, finances, yada yada. I am the preachiest person about that, and I happily accept that. However, my responsibilities of being like, husband, father, friend, son, all those things, and now uncle, all preclude me just controlling my finances. Like, I have to work on myself so I can be the best version of myself. So I can be those things to all those people. And I can't do any of that if I grind myself to dust in this like single-minded pursuit of finances and economic happiness, and make myself a miserable SOB in the process. So yeah, I mean, I think finding the balance point between hard work and being industrious, which I wholeheartedly promote, but I think the other side of things is you have to be able to unplug every now and then. You have to hit your reset button every now and then, and hopefully you have a friend hanging around who will kick you upside the behind several times repeatedly and say, "Dude, you need to knock this crap off and come on this trip."
Mhm.
Repeatedly.
Don't know who that
Don't
was.
make me drive to Michigan.
Oh, okay.
Oh, we're coming to Michigan probably for the Matter of Facts trip, not next year, but the year after. I mean, it's starting to look that way. Put it that way.
But yeah, so I mean, whatever you got to do to disconnect, do it. Share your thoughts in the comments. It'd be interesting to see what people do and your trips that you've taken. And I don't know, it's always fun to see, because you might get ideas of what to do. So
Yeah, but please take heed of all this, especially what Eddie was saying, because Eddie's right. We do need to have just a big old general mental health episode at some point in the future, probably on raising values and Matter of Facts. But the truth of the matter is, if you don't take care of your headspace, all the preps in the world ain't going to do any good. So, Matter of Fact's heading out the door. I am going to find something to get into because I have a camping trip coming up in a week, and a couple of chores need to be done in the meantime, and probably some chill in the meantime. But y'all take care of yourselves out there. Don't work too hard. Don't play too hard. Just everybody take care of yourselves. Talk to you later. Bye.
see it.